This is Jennifer Broussard Art, and we are ready to paint our June Duck of the Month, our graduate duck. I have my three normal mixing colors, my Nickel Azo Yellow, Quinacridone Rose, and Phthalocyanine Blue by M. Graham. And I have started mixing up a gray. What I did was I got some green, some yellow, I added some blue and I made green, and then I added red. Now I have a good mix of the three colors to get sort of a purpley gray. What I'm going to do first is wet the duck's body. Today's video is going to be quite easy because it is only this little duck from the front. So we don't have any wings to paint. We don't have really any background to paint. It's just the duck. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to turn a little bit of this gray brown by adding just a little more red and yellow. I'm going to get a smaller brush, right, size 2, and I'm going to put in wet onto wet paper the back part of the duck. This is actually the duck's bottom. And I want that to come out here and then out here. And I'm going to get some of the, actually I'm going to do some more brown. And I'm going to wick the brush because the paper's wet and the brush has water in it. It will be too much liquid. I'm going to now put in some directional marks. Now I'm going to grab the gray and I'm going to add some of that gray back here again. Working kind of quickly so the paper doesn't dry on me. And then once again, I'm going to go across the chest. And we're going to let this dry. While that is sitting and drying, I'm going to use this same color on the legs. And I'm going to put it on dry paper. And I'm going to paint the whole leg, the foot and everything. I'm going to get a little more water and lighten that up. If you've done my other ducks, you'll know what I'm doing here. I'm going to paint the whole foot. And then I'm going to add dark over the light, just in places where I want it to be darker. And that's called glazing. I want an irregular line there to show the feathers. A little knuckle. It really simplifies doing feet on birds, especially feet that are webbed. Now I'm going to take that same gray and do the head. I'm not going to do the neck yet, just the head. I'm going to go right around the eye. And I'm going to go over the beak. And we're going to do kind of the same thing. We're going to glaze when it's dry. And then I'm going to do the hat too. I'm going to fill in the whole top. And I'm leaving a little spot right there to put a tassel. It's going to come out from there and hang down. And now the bottom part of the hat, I am going to leave a tiny white line between the hat and the part that sticks to the head, just so that it doesn't look like one big shape. Okay, now let's do the neck. This is probably dry enough that it won't matter if a little bit of paint gets on that. And if it does, that's okay. It'll look more watercolory. I'm going to leave a little bit right there just because I don't want it to make a cauliflower on the chest. See, it's already coming out right there. Okay, I'm going to let that dry and we'll do a second layer. Isn't that pretty? I love that. Now I'm going to make the gray a little more black. I'm going to add a lot more blue. This is right from the tube, so it's gooey. And look how it separates. I love mixing colors. I think that is amazing. I'm going to make a purple. I'm going to add a little more red. And then a little bit of yellow to start turning it gray. That's great, isn't it? So make a purple and then add yellow and then adjust as you need until you get the color that you want. Now I'm going to do a second layer and make the things black that need to be black, which is a lot. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that off because I don't want it to be the exact same color as the head. So with a clean down brush, I'm just taking some of it off. So it's just a tiny bit different. And now the head. And now I'm not going to paint the beak, just the head. And that's glazing. I don't think I have that line quite right. Okay, now let's do the neck. We're going to get that very dark. Now right here I want to show you how to mix on the page, on the paper. So we're going to put a little bit of red on here. That seems really weird, doesn't it? Okay, and I'm going to add a little blue. And right away, it looks right. And now I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. And you see, you can tell that that gray is made up of 3 colors. Now I'm going to use the mixed gray to do these little flicks. And if you're in person looking at the painting, you can see the pink. Now I'm going to take a little off to give it a little contour. So I'm wetting the brush with clean water, wiping it off on a t-shirt so it's just damp, and lifting a little bit of the pigment. Okay, let's do the legs again. I'll do a better job on those little feathers here. And now we're only going to paint the parts that we want to be dark. I'm going to go a little bit in here. And then with a clean damp brush, I'm going to soften that. That was a lot of water. And get that toe and that toe the right shape. And now I'm going to come in over here. Clean down brush, and I'm going to get this softened. You just wiggle it around on the edge. And then there's the first foot. I'm going to do the toenails. I need a little more. Okay, let's do the other leg. And by stopping here, it makes it look like the foot is bent at the ankle. Now we want this part to be dark, halfway dark. Clean damp brush. And then a little bit here, it's too wet. Damp brush. And now the toenails. Those aren't finished yet, so that's just how they should look for now. I'm going to do a little detail on the beak with 00. Actually, I'm going to wet the beak. And I'm going to drag some of the pigment from the head onto the beak. Or maybe not. I'm going to add a little more gray. There we go. That looks a little better. And now with the same little brush, I got some of the, actually I'm going to make it a lighter value. And I'm wicking, and I'm going to go through and put a few little wet on dry marks all around the goose's body. Keeping it nice and light and loose and spontaneous. And see where that leaked? That looks fine. So no need to fret. I'm going to get some of the brown. just swinging back and forth. Get a little bit more brown by mixing yellow in with a little more red and blue. That's a pretty brown. I want it to be more brown though. That's a little more. There we go. And I'm getting a little bit of a dry brush effect because it's such a small brush. It runs out of paint pretty fast when you're doing this kind of thing. Okay, so now we've got the two wings kind of folded. Looks like he's holding something, maybe. Maybe it's diploma. That would have been cute. Put a diploma. Why didn't I think of that before? So if you aren't painting with me, if you're watching this first, I would put a little box right here and write diploma on it and then paint the goose. That's a good idea. My original has honk for the graduate class of 2022. And I left it off. I left this part off because I thought this would be a nice space for you to put your own saying. Okay, let's get the bottom jaw put on with a line and the nostril. And then we need the eyeball. I think I need to paint a little more over that white. Okay, now let's get a gold color. This is just left over from another painting. I just didn't want to get rid of it. I'm gonna make a little more yellow on that. A thickly pigmented goldish color. And I'm gonna start right here and do a little tassel. Okay, let's finish the feet. And I'm gonna go, I think I'm gonna glaze again. I'm gonna get a light value of this gray and glaze over the toes because they're just a little too bright. And I'm glazing over the whole foot. I just want the toes to be a little bit different, not really stand out different. Okay, now this eye is dry, and I'm going to get sort of a dried, I'm going to pick up from this dried pigment. Because it'll be more concentrated, and I'm going to add the eye in. I cut a little scrap so that I could make a diploma. I am going to use a Sharpie and black paint. I'm going to get the I'm doing this all out of order. I have some gold acrylic paint or acrylic ink. I'm going to write diploma on it with that. I'm going to just put a little bit of it right there. And I'm going to use a brush. that I don't use every day. I'm not going to use a nice brush. I don't know what this is. Dick Blick Co. Master Stroke. And then you can add your own writing here and say something like, I looked on AI. Looks like all that studying didn't ruffle your feathers. No more waddling through classes. It's time for soaring success. From gosling to graduate, you've really grown your wings. Honk if you're proud. Or you could just say, congratulations on your graduation. That's it for today. I hope that you learned a little something about mixing and a little bit about mixing on paper. And if you have a graduate in your family, congratulations. Thanks for watching and have a great day.